how many have already signed up to be a part of Pray for Pensacola? How many would sign up, but you have no idea how to sign up? Raise your hand, all right? If you don't know how to sign up, what you do is go to prayforpensacola.com. It's a website, and click on the button that says sign up. And you can just put on there. It's not, they're not like going to come and, deliver things to your house or anything like that. It's just a simple commitment that you're going to make to say, listen, for the next 40 days, I'm just making a special effort to pray and fast, and gives you several ways or whatever. But we like to know all across the city how many people are joining together to pray and to fast over the next several days. Different churches are doing different things, and then the city will come together on the last part of February to end this particular time. And every year we just see such incredible things happen during this season of prayer and fasting. And so tonight, it's an incredible joy. I'm going to ask Joe Miller. Joe and Karina have led this ministry, have really established it to do something powerful in our city. And I believe that God is going to do something through that. And so Joe is also a key of our administration and our teaching and our Bible school. And he just has a powerful teaching gift that you don't get to hear very often. Probably not often enough, but I'm thankful that he's here tonight. Open your hearts. Let's give a big welcome. Joe, come up here.
Actually, you could hear me more often, but Lynn charges to go to Bible college, so it's quite costly. So you're getting a good deal tonight. I guess you can say a special deal. Well, I'm very excited to be here. The ushers have in their hand something that they're going to pass out. If you do not have a calendar for Pray for Pensacola's 40 days, you could just raise their hand and they'll pass it out. You can print this out online, at prayforpensacola.com, but just in case you haven't yet, or you don't have a printer or a computer, we're passing these out. And what we're going to talk today about is this concept of prayer with fasting. And I have a PowerPoint slide to go with this, and we're going to have to try to coordinate that from the back there. So, but you can just put up the first one, prayer with fasting. There's a couple over here, guys, with the things. I'm very excited because as we look at how we can change this city, it's very important for us to look at God's given rules or God's given direction on what it takes for us to build his kingdom. It's nice. I love when I talk to people on the street. A lot of you have been saved for a while, and you've evangelized, and you've witnessed different people. And it's always fun to go out on the street and listen to people tell you why they're going to go to heaven. They always have a good answer. Well, I'm a good person. That usually is my favorite that I hear on the streets. I'm a good person. Or, two over there, guys. I'm a good person, or I never killed anybody, or whatever the case might be. There's always good reasons. And I love to hear the reasons because they're always reasons that they have in their playbook or in their rule book. People make up their own reasons on why they're good, or why they should go to heaven, or why they should do anything in relationship with the kingdom of God. And I really like to listen to what people say about that, because when we talk about building the kingdom of God, or we talk about getting into heaven or running the race towards heaven, whatever you want to call it, we have to understand that we must play by the rules. And it's not enough to say, well, this is what I feel, or this is what I think, because truthfully, I'm not the rule maker. I didn't make up the playbook. It's fun to go to a football game, but if everyone on that football field had their own rule book on how the game got played, it would look pretty funny. It would look kind of like how kids play football, or mixing football with rugby, with baseball, all at the same time. It just wouldn't make any sense. When you play a game, you got to play by the rules. And God has created very specific rules on how to work in his kingdom, how to build his kingdom, how to be saved, how to lead others to the Lord. There's very specific rules. And so with that in mind, I really want to just start out with this concept out of Matthew 6. One of the classes that I teach in Bible college here is called Disciplines of Life. And I focus on the disciplines that Christ has given to us in our walk with him that help us to do a good job, help us to serve him. You know, we want to imitate Christ. We want to do what he did. He fasted. He prayed. He gave. He practiced solitude. All night long, he'd go up and pray by himself. He practiced the discipline of service. He worshiped. There's a lot of disciplines that we look at and that we teach in our Bible college that talk about what did Jesus do? How can I do that also? But if I was to pull it all together in what I would call the core three, kind of like the trifecta of Christian discipline or Christian faith, I have to go to Matthew 6. I'd have to go to Matthew 6 because in Matthew 6, Jesus has three very specific things that he was talking to his disciples about. And I'm not going to read through it. I'm just going to paraphrase it. But he starts out by saying, listen, when you give, I like the word when. He didn't say if or maybe. He said, when you give in this manner. He said, don't give like the Pharisees do, but give like this. Because there was an expectation that you were going to give. And then he went on to say, when you pray, do not pray like the Pharisees do, but pray in this manner. And then he went on to give us the Lord's Prayer, which I think all of us know by heart. Our Father who art in heaven. Very basic, very fundamental to our faith. When you pray, pray like this. And then finally, the third leg of the stool is he said, when you fast, do not fast like the Pharisees or the Sadducees, but fast in this manner. And I have a picture of a stool up there because I like to look at it as the 3 points, the 3 most basic disciplines that need to be part of every believer's life as Christians in order for us to be stable, in order for us to build the kingdom, in order for us to really understand what God has for us. You know, you can't really sit on a 2-legged stool. You fall over. You can't sit on a 1-legged stool, but that's what many of us do in our Christian faith. We go through our whole life just really looking at one of those. We may pray, and that may be all we do. We don't know how to give. We don't know how to fast. We just pray. Yes, does it have value? Of course, but it's not balanced. Some of us live on 2 legs of that. We may give, and we may pray, but we may never fast. But see, I like to go back to Matthew 6 because it was very core to what he was teaching the disciples. It's very basic. He was saying, listen, these 3 things you're going to be doing, and you need to do them right, and this is how you're going to do it. And so I like to pull this kind of teaching in to our understanding of how we can better interact with Pray for Pensacola and how we could really touch our city, because I am going to tell you, in my experience, fasting is the most powerful weapon I believe that God has given to us on this earth for destroying the works of Satan. I don't believe there's a greater tool. Is giving important? Yes, of course. That's how we build the church. That's how we send missionaries. That's how we, in a sense, pay the bills. Yes, it's very important. Is praying important? Of course. That's why we meet here every Monday night to pray. That's why churches have prayer meetings. That's why we must pray in our home. We must pray over our children, of course. But if we were to look at the key discipline on changing the world in which we live, on breaking out of our shell, breaking out of our community in order to affect change on this earth, I'm going to have to look at that discipline called fasting and say that is the chainsaw, so to speak, that God has given us in order to chop down the forest, the hindrances, the stumbling blocks. A lot of us with prayer and with giving, you know, we walk around empowered to build the kingdom, but it's like we just have a hammer, some nails, old-fashioned saw, a screwdriver, and the minute you begin to understand fasting, to the extent that you add fasting to your list, all of a sudden it's like all your tools go power. Power hammer, power screwdriver, power chainsaw, power table saw. All of a sudden, everything kicks into a higher gear. What's interesting about these 3 things that we need to look at is when we pull this all together, every believer, regardless of your age, regardless of your wealth, regardless of your nationality, these three things equalize us in the kingdom of God. If you remember when the poor widow gave 2 mites in the offering, God said that she gave more than everyone else. So there's this idea within the realm of giving that God has brought us down to a place of, well, how much are you really giving? Are you giving sacrificially? I don't even want to move to prayer and fasting without looking at giving just a little bit, because I think everyone in this audience and streaming, I think we all really want to do our best for God. We want to hear what he's saying to us. We want to hear his voice. We want to do his will. We want to build his church. And so many times people come to church and they're like, I just don't hear the voice of the Lord. I'm just not hearing it. I don't know what he's saying to me. I don't know what his plans are. I don't think we need to pray more to hear the voice of God. I think we need to understand how to give more. God speaks through giving. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to explain it to you. Because when I was first saved, and many of you may have been there, but God begins to speak to us through our pocketbook. He begins to say things like, give that $20 that you have in your wallet into the offering. Give that $20. That's how he begins to speak to us. And we're saying, I want to hear the voice of God. And he's saying, give $20. And you know what we're doing? We're saying, get thee behind me, Satan. Get behind me. We don't want to hear it. And what's truth is, I'm going to tell you, you want a secret? I'll give you a secret. The devil never tells you to give in the offering. I just want to be clear about that. The devil will never tell you to give more money in the offering. He just won't. It's just not going to happen. So if you ever hear a small, still voice saying, give more money in the offering, I guarantee it's not the devil. He doesn't want to build the kingdom. He doesn't want you here putting any money in the offering. But I want to be clear about that, because as we progress through our growth and our relationship with him, we have to begin to hear his voice, and he's going to speak to us about money. If he cannot trust us with the unrighteous mammon of this earth, the money that has no really eternal value, it has no kingdom value, it has nothing really to do with God's kingdom, but he uses it as a training mechanism to empower us to hear his voice. As you begin to give, when you hear and he says, give 20, give 100, give 1,000, give this, give sacrificially, empty your checking account, write a big check, whatever those things are that he's saying to you, and as you begin to be faithful doing that, he will then begin to speak to you more. Because he can trust you. He knows you're paying attention to something that doesn't have value. He's not going to talk to you about something so valuable as a person's soul that's worth trillions of dollars if he can't trust you with 20. Do you see the correlation here? You see how this works? So when he says, I want you to give, and when you give in this manner, it's very important for us to understand that. So as we enter into 40 days of prayer and fasting, if we're not givers, if we have not grabbed a hold of that key concept, the rest of what I'm going to say to you will not make any sense. I'm speaking to believers tonight. I'm speaking to people who understand. And I want to be very clear about that. If we've not gotten past the giving, we won't understand and hear the rest. But assuming that you are moving forward in your giving and you're understanding how to hear his voice, you've got to then begin to recognize prayer and fasting then will work together in order to build the kingdom of God. Prayer is similar to a match. You light a little match and there you go, there's your prayer. Fasting is when you pour the gasoline on it and it just goes boom and blows everything up. It just explodes your prayer life. Fasting will explode your prayer life. Well, let me take a look as we kind of progress here. Go to the next one there. As we look at spiritual warfare, lies are the weapons that the devil uses to destroy Christians. Fasting is the weapon that we need to use to destroy lies. Let me say that again. Lies are the weapon that the enemy uses to destroy Christians. But God didn't leave us there hanging. He gave us the tool called fasting to destroy the lies. Now, I'm talking about prayer and fasting from an offensive point of view. Not defensive, but offensive, where we are now on a football field, and we, the church, are pushing back the gates of hell